Good evening, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. I feel doubly strange being here since I wasn't here last week, and kudos to Martina Obensky for leading services. And this is the one time a year that I wear my uniform. I realize that that we have 2 days that acknowledge those who served, and this is indeed the happy one. Okay, because this is for people who are still living and maybe living on in our memories. Memorial Day obviously remembers the sacrifices of those who served and paid the ultimate price. But on this day after the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour, little could those who celebrated the armistice more than 100 years ago realize that their world would be devastated, perhaps far more than the combat casualties with the so-called Spanish flu pandemic that happened the next year. So we find ourselves in somewhat of a similar predicament. But for everyone who had a free meal, for everyone who received the congratulations, thank you indeed for your service, and I'm honored to be here. Our service really has an angelic theme to it with our Torah portion. It starts with angels and it ends with angels, and that certainly is the hope that I have for each of us in our respective journeys, that we're indeed accompanied by angels. So we'll turn to page 24 for Shalom Aleichem, the Zim version. Verses 1 and 4, yes.
Shalom, Malachei Shalom.
Thanks, everyone. Let's hope that the angels really are here with us. Now let's turn to page 2 for Hadlakat HaNeirot, and it's a pleasure to ask Mike and Martina to come forward for candles, Kiddush, and Motzi. And I guess we'll only be lighting 2 candles for a grand total of 3, but wherever Bobby Friedenheim is this evening, somewhere there will or was a cake with 85 candles on it. So happy things in our congregation, bringing light to the world. Martina.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generation of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kadoshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And there they are. Thank you for bringing light into the world. We'll turn to page 5 and rise as best we're able for Kiddush.
Shabbat enters with words of wonder poured upon rich wine to fulfill the verse, remember the Sabbath day to sanctify it. Kiddush is a ritual of words and drink, a magical bridge from the harried weekday to the day of rest. As Shabbat awakens joy in me, I drink the wine of life. Family and friends share with me in the seventh day the promises to come and the promises to keep. Pri Hagathen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Let's look over on page 7. I think we'll read together. Guatemala doesn't have daylight savings time, so last Friday was, light until whenever. So a bit of a shock to the system today to be ready for all sorts of things at 4:28. So definitely, where has this week vanished? Read with me. Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat abide. And that is lovely. That is a lovely reading. And I hope that that's the little bit of Shabbat spirit that the angels might be bringing to us. At the bottom of page 9. Again, together, we offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessings, O God. So I am very rarely a congregant on Friday night. I was last Friday night in Guatemala, in Antigua, Guatemala, the ancient capital. After a lovely wedding Friday afternoon, one of the bride's relatives led a Kabbalat Shabbat service. And it was just, well, it was a strange prayer book, never seen it before. But just the fact that I knew that you were here singing the same words that Jews all throughout the world had that experience of seeing candles and hearing Baruch Hu and Shema. Truly, Am Yisrael Chai, and that is an experience that I think there are more than a few of you as travelers who I know seek out synagogues wherever you go or touch base with the Jewish community. So for that sense of continuity wherever we are. So let's turn over to page 28, getting ready. Page 20, sorry, thank you. The spirit of Shabbat in all of her mystical incantation, incarceration, impersonation. I can't think of what the word is, but I hope that the music will lift you up. And of course, when we get to verse 9, we'll ask Mike to open the door. Sate.
Yamin. Ari. En partsi. Vanis mecha. Shalom. Ateret bala. Simcha. Emune. Am segula. Allah. Bobi chala.
Stay standing. Your space will be broad, your worship free. Await the promised one. We will exult, we will sing for joy. And that's the Joey Weisenberg arrangement, influenced by American music and a specific Civil War photograph. Continue over with Am I Awake and Baruch Hu.
Aharechu.
Please be seated, everyone. Certainly hope that those who are joining us virtually were able to hear the choir. We're certainly working on it. Might be another reason to come here in person. Okay, thank you. Pages 30 and 32 take us from the Baruch Hu to the Shema, and for the evening that suddenly seems a whole lot longer than it used to be last Shabbat. Let's read at the top of page 31. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As the heavens span to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Thanks. And over the page for the Torah study that we all do in one way or another, whether it's opening the prayer book, whether it's attending classes or listening to podcasts. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. And the love, of course, is shown in the books of Judaism, the many different ways that we have to connect with the wisdom of the past, the wisdom that can be ours. Shema on page 34. We'll continue that theme of love, V'ahavta on page 36.
Ed Adonai Elohecha, b'kol levavcha u'b'kol nafshecha, u'b'kol me'odecha, v'hayu ha'dvarim ha'eh, asher anochi tzavecha, hayom alevavecha, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בעיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. נא תזכרו עשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מאפרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. And just over on the other page, 37, I'll read a snippet. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. And I wonder if that's a play on words, if they put a W in front of that, so the mitzvot are a way that we can be holy with a W for God. Mi chamocha, and again, our theme for our Torah portion, Vayetze, is indeed a journey. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran, journeying ever since. Mi chamocha. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. And I have to say that this is torture for me, just lip syncing in case it's my microphone that allows the choir to be heard. So not singing up here. Okay, page 42, just a reminder, our eternal connection with Jerusalem. This fabulous podcast that I'm listening to called Bible 365 by Rabbi Meir Soloveitchik. We're now in the book of Kings, and Solomon has just built the temple. So God's presence eternally in Jerusalem. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. We'll continue on page 48. I'll ask you to rise as you are able, vote and givurot. And certainly if today was any indication, our prayers for rain were heard.
Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, Elyon, Yoneha, Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Ani b'nei b'neihem, Shemo b'Yahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Abraham, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Hayeh HaKol HaTavrav L'Hoshia, Mashiach HaRuach Hashem, Mechayeh HaKol Amim Rabim, Somech Nofli, Emei Afar. נאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Please be seated, everyone. Perhaps the reading on page 53. At the top of the page, again, a connection with the Torah portion and one of the very special musical selections that we'll have. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. We'll get to that a little bit later, but look at the top of the page. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see, wherever we gaze, that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. And is the direct quote from our Torah portion on the morning after Jacob's famous dream of the sulam, of the ladder to heaven. He says, Achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh ve'anochi lo yadati. And I have to think that that phrase is uttered with some degree of regret. The French have a word for it, les mots de l'escalier, the words of the staircase, literally the things that you think to say after the moment has passed, or, oh, I should have said, or, oh, I wish I'd said that. So we're just asking that our eyes be a little bit wider to be able to see the miracles around us. For the quality of our worship on page 56, say Adonai Eloheinu b'amcha Yisrael, utfilatam behavat tekabel utihil ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Let our eyes behold your loving return to Zion. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose presence returns to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shechinato le'Zion. I'm kind of proud of myself. I schlepped too many clothes, but I had a great suitcase. But I also schlepped my, how shall I say, my book of Talmud that we're studying, that the Jewish world is studying. It's Masechet Rosh Hashanah, the laws about when the new moon is. And it has something very much, this prayer, I wonder if it mystifies you as it does me. Let our eyes behold your loving return to Zion. It's like, well, isn't God always in Zion? Well, yes, but we, the Jewish people, have not always been in Zion. And just 2 days ago, there was a little something that said, God's presence followed the Jewish people into exile. And then they connected that with the Sanhedrin having to leave a destroyed Jerusalem and the 10 stops that the Sanhedrin made in Israel, ending up in Tiberias. So again, on high, God wanders with the people, and those who provide community and guidance go where the community is. So God's loving return to Zion, just as we, the people, return to Zion, Yerushalayim Habenuyah, the rebuilt Jerusalem. Page 60 for Shalom Rav, the sense of shalom that will bless us and our world.
Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav.
Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. And though we do say, grant us peace, your most precious gift, certainly on this Veterans Day, we'll pay tribute to those who are willing to achieve peace at the expense of their own lives and sacrifices. So to those of you who are here, who I do know who have served, thank you indeed for your service. And I guess if those of us who have served are sort of old, okay, I'll simply say that we have Korean War represented here. Is that right, Lenny? Korean War, you, the 50? World War II, oh my gosh. Excuse me, sir. Okay, thank you. So World War II, and then the wars of the, I don't think, who's, Vietnam, yes? Okay, thank you. And then okay, who else? Vietnam, anyone for Vietnam? Okay, no, then the 80s and the 90s, Desert Shield, verse 1 and then verse 2. And I guess I'm so proud of young Marine Jared Livesey, who's serving his country in the United States Marine Corps. And in his honor, that's the kippah that I'm wearing, digital camouflage. So if you grew up with Gomer Pyle, that isn't the uniform that Marines wear anymore. So blessed are the peacemakers. That's not from our tradition, but indeed for those who've worn the uniform, they are the peacemakers. We'll turn over to page 253. Misha Beirach will think of those who need our prayers, our lifting voices. A Misha Beirach for Bobby Hamill, Peggy Stetner. I'll say Susan Felton, though we're grateful for her good news. Judy Sennett, Dr. Howard Israel, young Ellery Einstein, for Flossie Zales, Misha Beirach, for Sharon Isaac, Susan Scarce, Ruth Nathanson, and Phyllis Orsoff. And for those who are in your hearts, we'll lift them up for healing. Misha Beirach. Misha Beirach, Misha Beirach, for healing. Well, our prayer for our country, again, America is a geographic destination and location. And I must say that getting off the plane in Newark and whizzing through all sorts of security, I would have been very happy to stand in a long line. I didn't have to. But seeing the flag, I knew that I was home. but America is also a collection of individuals who are willing to make sacrifices. I'm so proud not only of those who have served in uniform, but the members of our congregation who are involved civically in the arena, as it were, trying to serve their municipality or school board, so on and so forth. So we honor you. This is veteran themed, but indeed, in a uniform or without, how might we enhance our country, bring our blessing to her? We honor you.
Sacrifices made. Honor you, giving us your all. Shores of Normandy. Souls came home with battle scars. Courage you display. It's just a holiday. So much more. Our nation proud, this day we courage you display. Giving us your all, according to the call. Courage you display. Giving us your all. For you.
We honor you. Thank you, Karen. Bless America. The state of Israel, Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim, Yishlayu Ohavayach. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. I've been referring to our Torah portion all service long, Vayetse. We're in the next generation. It is the story of young Jacob, who, when last we saw him, had connived with his mother to cheat his blind father to receive the blessing. And it's no wonder that his brother Esau said, "I'm going to kill you." And he left, the euphemism, he left Beersheba. It sounds like a stately journey. He was certainly fleeing for his life, as it were, going someplace that he did not know. This doesn't happen anymore, where the judge gives some young juvenile delinquent the choice of going to jail or joining the Marine Corps. It's a far more specialized than it was back in the 50s when those sort of choices were given. But really, Jacob, if that's a helpful analogy, to think of him setting off for truly the unknown at quite the risk of his own life, that's what our Torah portion is about. Now, I always tell families who have someone going off to the military academies or fewer to the service, please make friends with your chaplain before you get into trouble, okay? Make sure you know who him or her is, or it doesn't really matter if they're your religion or not. Chaplains are there to serve everyone. How lucky Jacob was on this journey, that, as I say, he had angels there from the very first night that he set off from home. And again, none of us have been in the sort of darkness that existed in a pre-electricity age. So forget what you see in the movies where they gallop through the prairies or go through the woods in the pitch dark. You can't do that, okay? So it was really dark, but he had the vision in his dream that it would somehow be okay. Now that ladder, the Hebrew word for ladder is sulam. I used that before. In gematria, the same letters for ladder are for Mount Sinai. So not all of us have a vision like Jacob. In fact, if most of us talked about visions like that, we'd probably be locked up or looked askance at. But Sinai is the connection for Jews and for many people between heaven and earth. What are the things that we can do in the here and now that elevate our souls, elevate our lives, elevate our community? So Jacob is on the long way back to finding his better self. Perhaps it was angels, or perhaps a preview of what comes at Mount Sinai, the rules of both behavior as well as holiness. We know that he goes to Haran. He meets his beloved. He meets Rachel. Ends up married to her older sister, tricked as it were. I've never done a bedekin ceremony, as in lifting the veil before the ceremony so that the groom knows he's marrying the right person. I did that last Friday afternoon, and thinking of this particular Torah portion. Again, these are not just words on a page or words on parchment. They inform some of the options that we as Jews have. It is these 21 years with his father-in-law where he understands what it is like to be tricked, to be duped. This is karma, as it were, for what he done at home is now being done to him. But the story ends up kind of all right. He ends up with 4 wives and 12 children. One more is will be on the way next week, as it were, and he ends up very wealthy. And the only fly in the ointment is his father-in-law doesn't want to let him go. Jacob knows that he's no longer the callow young man that he was, and he cannot stay outside of the land of Israel. He has to go home and try to make amends. He doesn't know what that means exactly. But he has the courage, the bravery to make the first step, to leave his father-in-law, to take his family, and again to not even boldly go, but just to go. And it's at the end of the story where he has what could be a confrontation with his father-in-law, that indeed angels guide him back. Next week is wrestling with angels, but this week he's just guided back. It ends with words that have a lot of meaning for me. As Jacob leaves his father-in-law, they make a pact, basically, that they're going to separate. They need to. Jacob says, "Come then, let us make a pact, you and I, that there will be a witness between you and me." Thereupon Jacob took a stone, and remember the story starts with using a stone for a pillow when he's fleeing. He's come a long way from that now. We're told that he has flocks and herds and this large family. But he took a stone and set it up as a pillar and said to his kinsmen, and who would they be? They'd be his children. So what did he know? Jewish parents bring their children, get their children involved. Gather stones. So they took stones and made a mound, and they had a meal there. Well, that's of course right. And Lavan, his father-in-law, gave it an Aramaic name, but Jacob called it Gal-Aid. And then his father-in-law said, "This mound is a witness between you and me today." And that's what Gal-Aid means. And it was called Mitzpah. So that's a name that some of you might know. It's called Mitzvah because he said, "May the Lord watch between you and me when we are out of sight of each other." That oldest son, Max, went into the Army National Guard. That was his way, or our way, of paying for his college. And when 9/11 happened, he was in university and was able to continue for a year. His unit was activated to do perimeter security at Langley Air Force Base, so they didn't need him. But I knew that he would be going. And I guess one of the most important things that I've ever done as a father is manage to get myself sent to Iraq before him. It did take some doing because my job was to do marriage retreats and personal growth retreats for sailors and their families in Groton, Connecticut at the subbase. So I was hardly with a combat unit that would have expected to be called up and go to Iraq. But I played the Jewish card and got to go and bring my Manischewitz and my matzah and all of those things and go from base to base in Iraq to work with Jewish soldiers, sailors, and Marines, as well as Christian chaplains. Because you can send a salami to your boy in the Army. So was the slogan from Katz's Deli in World War II. But most Jewish service people are looked after by non-Jewish chaplains. There are just very few rabbis. But the story of America is those Christian chaplains primarily feel their obligation to facilitate for the religious needs of all of their troops, not to convert them, but to give them what it is they need. So I got to Iraq and trained Christian chaplains, had many stories. I've shared some of them with you, but I needed to get there before my son. So he wanted, in the worst way, before he was going overseas, to get a tattoo. And he wanted big angel wings on his back. It was, okay, so there are lots of things that Jews now do or find acceptable that people my age were, oh my gosh, so Jews don't get tattoos. So I made a deal with him that if he did not get this huge angel wing tattoo, that we would get a tattoo together, and it would be a little pyramid of stones. What I had in mind was this particular verse, that he would be going, I won't say God knows where, because God would know where he was. I just wouldn't know where he was. Two, as the mitzvah, as the reminder that God would watch over us when we were. Really remember, maybe that wasn't cool enough. Maybe he did sense disapproval that he shouldn't get a tattoo. So we didn't end up getting that particular tattoo. I did end up farewelling his unit up at McGuire, and found it not strange to quote the New Testament, that they put on the full armor of faith for what it was that they would be doing on their year in Iraq, and then met up with them for Passover a couple of months later. So for a father who did not know where his son was going, who could say with faith that my son would have, and this is for everyone who sends someone off into the service, I hope with the faith that there is more than today in my life. There is more than today in my life, even if that tomorrow is the world to come. So I could accept his sacrifice, that sense of faith. And I'd like to think that Jacob, on his journey, while he had the advantage of having angels appear to him, that each of us could operate on our own journey with that sense that there's more than today in my life, even though we may not have control where it is. So for those who journey, those who've served, those who are bound in love to another human being and are willing to take the risks, of course, that love in those relationships sometimes require. It is a yasher koach to each of us for love, been willing to make sacrifices, and mostly to see that the presence of God can be with us wherever we are. And so that's our musical selection to consider, surely the presence of the Lord.
God's mighty power. Surely the presence of the Lord. I can Sharonai.
Thank you. Just lovely. Well, Chaplains are never in command, except of other chaplains. We're support personnel, and hopefully we do provide support to our troops and to our commanding officers as well, up the line as well as down the line. I know that I could not do this, and no rabbi can do this work alone, and I'm so grateful. I'll ask President Marty to come forward to give the announcements, and indeed for the board members who are here, past presidents as well. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Seth. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Welcome back, Rabbi Seth. Thank you for the beautiful music. And thank you for the honors and the blessings to the families who did that. And to all of you for attending, and apologies. We know that the music did not come across clearly, and we promise that that will be fixed for next week for those of you at home. But more positive things, and it was certainly beautiful here in the sanctuary, I can tell you that. There's a lot still happening in November and in December, and you can see all the details in Let's Stay Connected, so please consider these and consider signing up. The first is on Sunday, Charlie Richter giving a presentation on Yiddish theater. There's over 40 people signed up, I've heard, Charlie. So there's going to be a lot of people enjoying that, and I'll be one of them. Next, right here in this room, there'll be an interfaith Thanksgiving service on Wednesday, November 24th, and that will also be Zoomed or streamed somehow. So please consider attending that here or at home. Next, on December 1st, not an official KI activity, but certainly a lot of KI people going. Nefesh Mountain, the group that did the Hanukkah concert that we streamed last Hanukkah, is going to be live at the Sellersville Theater and going to be doing a very similar Hanukkah show to what they did last year. If you have interest in that one, please see me. On Sunday, December 5th, the women of KI are starting a book chat. So that's going to be really interesting for anybody interested in books, and I think it's going to really grow from there. So consider that, please. And lastly, Shabbat out of the box for December is going to be card makings for seniors and also baking for them. That was really appreciated by seniors last year, and I think the people who did it really enjoyed it also. So you might want to sign up for that. Lastly, Family Promise is almost filled up, but I think Martina said there is one slot left that we would love to fill with somebody new who could get to appreciate that experience with us. This is for homeless families. We house them here at our synagogue for 4 weeks throughout the year, and this is the first time we're able to bring them back into the synagogue versus being at a hotel, so it's going to be really special. So please contact Martina if you would like to participate in that. With that, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Thank you, President Marty. We'll turn to page 282. We'll rise for Aleinu as we ask the Ratner, Emsweiler, and Morse families to come forward to open the ark. So I can see that our Shabbat candles are still burning, bringing brightness into our sanctuary. And again, congratulations to Bobby Friedenheim on her 85th birthday. The Shabbat candles are, of course, in every week. The lights on the memorial board are only lit once a year at a yard site. We acknowledge that for Cy Ratner, for Poppy, his plaque, his memorial plaque, has been installed and is lit this evening. Those memories, to his memory, we send our condolences to Pat Belden on the death of her husband, Sandy Belden. I'll ask those of you who are in the first year of mourning to rise, please. If the first year of mourning, to rise. Thank you. And I realize that our veterans are, thank God, with us. But if you have someone who was killed in one of America's wars, if you'd like to stand in remembrance for that loved one or that person, please feel free. And then as we hear the name of our loved ones for Kaddish, for Yartzeit, please rise. Samuel Arliss, Jacob Aronsky, and Ruby Aronsky. Shraga Avitzur, Nathan Cohen, Henry Dreyfus, Celia Engelson, Charles Fogelman, Leo Frankel, Hattie Goldsmith, Madeline Goodman, Maurice Gottlieb, Maurice Leidy, Cecile Lachey, Malcolm Levy, sorry. Oh, Darcy Milrod, Emma Morgus, Chad Obetsky, and Martina. Gabriel Oren, Herbert Person, Daniel Pearlstein, Malcolm Sampliner, Daniel Sennett, Samuel Schaefer, Betty Siegel, Lester Silverman, Sidney Stetcher, Sadie Unger, and Sadie Unger. I'll ask you all now to rise in solidarity with those who are in mourning as we praise God, pray, and work for the coming of God's kingdom. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabah, v'alma divarach chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yahei shemei rabah mevarach li'alam olamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha b'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalom araba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, comfort to each of us at our times and seasons of bereavement. We'll stay standing and we'll conclude our service with God Bless America, Irving Berlin, but arranged by Joseph Martin. So a little bit different, but please feel free to join in. God bless America. Thank you. Shabbat shalom to everyone. Look forward to seeing you in the foyer. Bye-bye. Shabbat shalom. Julie, can one of you speak into your microphone?
Test, test, test.
Speak
Test,
into your
test.
microphone. Just say something.
Test,
David.
test, test. Can you hear me? Test, test, test.
And Rebecca?
Test, test. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, and Lauren?
Test, test.
Test, test, test. Okay, for our home congregation, we're sure hoping to get this figured out for next week. Take care. Bye-bye.